Hello, and welcome to this week's live stream, starting on N in our alphabetical run-through of all of the Beebo and Hector modules. So yeah, I've been showing these all on Beebo, but it's always, everything works the same on Hector, just different ins and outs. And yeah, if you've got any questions about Beebo, Hector, or Flat 5, we're always happy to answer any of them. I have had a couple of questions recently about the MIDI out on Flat 5. It's only out, not through. So yeah, it doesn't connect the input to the output of the MIDI. It's just for backing up presets. I think the design should be different, and if I update any of that at some point in the future, I can't do firmware updates for Flat 5, so it'd have to be just future versions could have that differently. But yeah, I'd have to do a different firmware changes to actually change that. But it's not user updatable firmware. So yeah, there's no chance of through at the moment on Flat 5, which I admit is a bit silly. So, we are continuing today. Yep. We're up to N on our extensive run-through after the many weeks of M. So yeah, there's just two here in N, which is the note sequencer and the note sequencer external. Again, the external one just takes in triggers from outside, and the internal one takes in tempo instead. So let us grab a note sequencer. Do I want any of this in this patch? No, I do not. All right. So I'll grab a note sequencer. So note sequencers send out notes. So we'll need something that can make a sound. We use macro oscillator a lot, so maybe we'll use the multi-resonator instead. Because we used that a bit. That was last week. We used, last bit of M. We'll grab a VCA so we can make this not deafening. Turn that all the way down. We'll grab both these evens and outs to there, and we'll route this to the reverb and to the correct outs, not to... I'll just disconnect that one. That one was meant to be there. You can press down here to hold to disconnect. So we've got our reverb connected up, we've got a VCA going to that, and that's our multi-resonator. We'll be happy with that. So now we're going to have notes. So we're going to have a collection of notes that we can draw in like that. We're not going to have triggers yet, though. These notes will just, happen at an arbitrary... Well, we don't have anything triggering the resonator, so there won't be you won't hear any notes yet. So we can try some different ways to do that. I often, the chaos controller is very flexible for that. It's probably the option most people will use if you want random stuff. If you want something very simple, you can just use the LFO or something like that. This will give you regular triggers. So if we run to strum, now if we turn up out. So we're getting our regular, but oops. And now if we connect up note sequencer, so we'll go into pitch. Straight away changing. So it's just sending out this first note. And then if we start playing, but you'll notice that the triggers aren't, they're at similar tempos, but they don't happen at exactly the same time because we're not, these are two unsynced things that are happening in time. They're happening at the same-ish speed, but they're not synced in time. Which may occasionally be what you want. But there is a way to change that. So, yeah, you've got that unsynced in time thing. How do we change that? Well, instead of having a note sequencer, we'll add the other one, the note sequencer external. So it doesn't have its own idea of tempo. It doesn't have any controls. It doesn't have play or stop or anything in here. We'll connect that up to pitch. So it's just doing this first one because we're not getting any triggers. And then we'll connect this one to here as well. So we've got back, reset, and step triggers. We can connect different things up to these ones. So if you want to move it through differently, you can create complicated patterns by connecting up different stuff to step and back and reset. And then you can move through. So maybe you'll have a long or a slow LFO or a long sequence that's connected up to reset. And then you'll have another one a shorter one that's connected up to step, and you can get some very complicated patterns doing that kind of thing. So now we'll connect up step. And now our triggers and our pitch are coming from the same source, same trigger. So that's the use of the external one. So now you've got all that. So yeah, you can change the octave that these are with the up and down here. Like so. Up octaves. And we can change how many steps there are. 16 is the most. Yeah, that's most of the stuff with the note sequencer. You can combine the notes with the things like the quantizer to filter them to a particular scale that you can set up, or you can just put in the right notes when you're typing them in here. I mean, you can drag them to anything. Yeah, but obviously, yeah, you can quantize those as well. Note information can be sent into other stuff as well. So it doesn't have to be into a synthesizer. For instance, if we added a pitch shifter and had that happening on our guitar signal or something, we could show it, yeah. So there's a couple of different options for pitch shifting. There's the one called pitch shifter. That's always going to be a delayed signal. So that's really only useful if you're doing it on a send, like so it's not on your dry. It's going to be on the delayed signal. Or there's time stretch, which is a pitch shifter as well. It's just very flexible. So we'll start off with the really simple one. And we'll drop in I'm actually quite close to P anyway. That pitch shift. And we'll turn this guy down a little bit. And got our pitch shifter here. Run this stuff into here. Disconnect this stuff from there. connect this guy up to there. Turn this up a little tiny bit. So we're not shifting the pitch yet. But we can with that. And now we'll disconnect the note sequencer from here, from the pitch input. So we're always sending the same pitch out. And now we're pitch shifting instead. That's cute. But remembering, okay, I've just deleted the sound source there. So let's add in the actual guitar input. Because I want to show that you can actually do this on synths and on guitar. So now, if I turn up my levels here, that's much, much quieter. You can hear what I'm playing gets pitch shifted if I strum. I'll add some direct as well. So the other one will be delayed. Might actually chuck that into a full delay because that could be cool. Should we pitch shift after or before the delay? I think actually after would be interesting. So we'll just change this one. We were taking this into the input of the pitch shifter. Let's chuck that into a delay and then into the pitch shifter. Then we'll have this pitch shifted delay. Let's give that some level. We might make it a little longer. No, we'll just have lots of feedback. Like so. And the notes we're getting are the ones we shift here. So. You can see that shift there. So that's how you can use the note sequencer on guitar input as well. So obviously you can make faster or slower patterns there, ones that actually make harmonic sense with what you're playing. So you could run this into a quantizer, as I mentioned, or put in sensible notes, and then you could control pitch shifting over time, in case you want to do kind of harmonization stuff. Yeah. That's you get more I don't know if I want to call it. Yeah, okay. You could duplicate this guy, have two note sequences. There's other ways to do this, but so we have a squiggle here of random notes. We have another pitch shifter. We'll chuck that on the same delay line. We could have different delay lines. We'll put our note sequencer into it that's driven off the same LFO. And then we'll chuck that into the VCA as well. And now what you're getting is harmonies, because you're getting 2 different pitch shifts. Obviously, you can set these to be, coherent chords and stuff like that. If we ran both of them into a quantizer, we could run into different quantizers and have something interesting happen there. And then, yeah, your harmonies would be... They're pretty intense at the moment. Because, yeah, they're not necessarily in pitch, the harmonies. But, yeah, you can shift them to be so that these are in pitch and changing over time. And, yeah, if you did that with a quantizer in there, you can constrain those to be specific notes that make sense. So, yeah, that's all of N. Let's get on to O, which there isn't very much of. Onset Detector, which is a way to, detect when you start playing a note, and it sends a trigger. This bit is a bit complicated. So it has to work out what counts as silence and what counts as note playing. Eventually I want to change how this is represented, but for the moment, this is how it works. So that's the detection of silence, the silence threshold, and this is onset threshold. That's the detection of you're playing a note. So that's what you want to have levels for both of those. And so this generates out triggers. So if we grab back our note sequencer external, we connect this one up to there, let's connect up a step trigger, and we'll connect our... I'm going to run into a saturated foil, because sometimes you want to have some more control over level. Sometimes I want to be able to, really either reduce or boost my levels going into the onset detector, depending on what the levels from your instrument are like. So we'll just keep this flat to begin with, and we'll see if the onset detector is okay with those. And we'll see. Yeah, see, so if we play and get this moving, we've got this right. Currently, we do not. So let's, we can leave, we might, so maybe we're not detecting silence. So we'll say our silence threshold is a lot, because maybe we're having some noise from the guitar, like single coils, we're going to be picking up some random stuff. We'll see if this, yeah, so that was the issue. Often people increase the detection threshold, but the actual issue is that the silence threshold is too low, because the idea of how silent is silent for a guitar input will often be not very silent, because you're going to be picking up lots of random noise from the stuff beforehand, and guitar inputs, any pickup you're going to have some hum and stuff like that. So now, each time I play a note, we get the indicator, we get a new trigger. So we could use that with the previous example. Each time you play a new note, it gives you a different pitch shift. So you get a different harmony each time you play a note, which combines quite neatly together with what we did just before. You notice you can't actually hear anything at the moment, because I'm just routing these. I didn't route any dry. I'm only routing it into the sequencer. So if I route this dry out, then you can. But I'm just making little blinks, playing an onset, and it's detecting each of them. Somebody, so I just got a question then about, from Jordan, about how to control the Beebo with, flat 5 with Beebo. Yeah, and they said they've got an old pink one. So yeah, there are the newer Beebos have type A MIDI, so which is the same as Flat 5. That's the current normal MIDI standard. And so you can just grab a one of these friendly little cables, just a normal 3.5mm TRS cable. Grab one of them and plug between Beebo out to Flat 5 in, and then you can send CCs to Flat 5 to control any of the settings you want. So if you want a different LFO that is more complicated, the easiest one to control is, for me, is usually CC0. It's called mod wheel, because that is by default set to the mod wheel CC is set to control the blend. So that's blend override, but you can control each of them individually as well. Yeah, so that's and oh yeah, sorry. If you've got one of the early, very early Beebos, an early pink one with usually the pink ones with white writing, but there's a list of serial numbers in the FAQ on the website where I switched. The early ones have type B MIDI output instead. So if you want to connect directly from Beebo to Flat 5, you'll need, so that's a type B to type A. You'll need a cable that switches the polarity. This is relatively easy to do, depending on your level of enthusiasm for soldering. You can either just make a custom cable where you've got tip and ring swapped, or if you're less enthusiastic about custom soldering or buying one that's already like that, if you get 3.5mm to RCA, and then you get another 3.5mm to, so plug RCA to receptacle RCA, and you switch them around, because those ones you can just plug, you've got a left and a right there with RCAs. So if you then you can just plug them together and you can switch them around. Then you can create any cable you want just by switching them around, which is pretty handy. Yeah, I think that's everything about how to. So yeah, and yeah, you can just forward CCs out then. Program change messages are a little more complicated. You can generate program changes with Beebo, but it's not super elegant at the moment. A more elegant way to doing program changes is something I would love. Yep, so I've just got a couple more questions here. Yep, thank you about the nice words about Beebo. Oh yeah, specific module to use. Yeah, sorry, that's the general concept is that's how you plug them in. If you want to send CCs to Flat 5 from Beebo, then you want to use the CV to CC module, which we covered a long time ago in the thingies. There we go, CV to MIDI CC. This one will take CV, so like if you have an LFO, you can connect this guy up to this guy, then route that one out to there, and you just choose where you want to send that to. So set that to whatever channel you set over here, and route that out to there. That's it. So CV to MIDI CC to send out that one. So hopefully that answers all the questions you had there, Jordan. So yep, that's the oh yeah, the Kegu who had a question about the screen. Yeah, if you could reply to my email, I asked you a question about what the serial number is. LMNO. Okay, last thing in O is the Oog Half LFO, low pass filter, I mean, Half LPF. So this is a low pass filter based on the very famous Moog design. And it's like all the other filters. So how you use it, I'll just get rid of this guy. I'll just get rid of that guy. And if we connect here, disconnect it. I'll just get rid of any of the dry and connect that to out. It's just got cut off and queue. Same as all the other filters. Obviously, you can control it just the same as the other filters. And yeah, you'll notice how the knobs are, what's called a logarithmic here. Well, audio log, there we go. They're audio taper. So you got more detail down line. Anyway, and if you crank up Q, that's resonance. You'll get more fun squelchy noises. So obviously you can connect up an LFO or anything to that. Usual deal. Yeah. Any of the other CV ways you normally do with all the other filters. So yeah, same as all the other filters, but Moogie sounding. And that's the end of O. And we're up to P. Yep. Somebody says that, yep. If there's more questions, of course, ask anytime you want. Carlos asks, is it possible to control the drum pattern module with Sequencer? Yeah. That's, I don't actually know that model sequencer, the Torso T1. I haven't heard of that. But yeah, the drum patterns. We had a video, the D video early on, that covered the drum pattern. It's got lots of inputs, so yeah, you can. The easiest way, yeah, just MIDI bind any of the things. If you've got a sequencer that sends out MIDI, just use normal MIDI binding to any of the parameters. Is the way to do that. Yeah, if you want to set out tempo, then whatever type of tempo your sequencer sends out, if it's sending out clock pulses, like if you're using it in a Eurorack context, like if you're using it in a Hector, then if it's a Eurorack sequencer, then send out normal Eurorack clock into it. If it's in a MIDI-ish kind of context in Beebo or something, then yeah, I'd send out just normal MIDI clock to it, and then set the tempo into the drum pattern generator. Oh yeah, sorry. So you're asking whether you should send CV or MIDI or CV. Beebo can't take in CV directly. Hector can take in CV on all of its inputs and send out CV in all of its outputs. Beebo can't take in CV from an external module. So yeah, if you want to send a message from an external sequencer into Beebo, then you should do it via MIDI. You can somewhat get around it because like triggers and stuff are, they're CV in a way, but they're also audio in a way because they're little clicks. A trigger is just a kind of instantaneous click. So you probably can patch those into the audio inputs fine, because they'll couple correctly. Though it'll depend a little bit. In case you want to use triggers instead. But yeah. Splatter, if you've got a question, feel free to ask it. Otherwise, I might show one or two of P, and then we will we'll knock off until next week, and then do the last. We're getting through most of our letters. There's a couple of big ones coming up, but there's quite a few things in P actually. All right, we'll just do the first one or two. Pan's very straightforward. Pan just. Somebody asked a while ago about. I can't remember if I replied to that email actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Somebody asked about using Beebo as a like send and return mixery kind of thing. Obviously the matrix mixer is good for that, but you can just make things by using the pans and the other controls. So yeah, if you take in, obviously you can do this manually. You can let's get rid of you. You can just now L, now R. We get signal to, and now you can pan between things. Obviously this works the same as everything else that takes in CV, which hopefully we're getting the hang of by now. We'll take in this is actually vaguely interesting. So we've got a number between -1 and 1, full left and full right. So we want a bipolar, what's called LFO. And we should be able to get panning between left and right. Which I'm going to have to chuck on some headphones to actually hear properly, because I can only hear one speaker very clear. Oh yeah, cool, that's working, good. Yeah, so you can hear that LFOing between there. Obviously, you can change the depth of things like that. You can go into random moves. This is now, if we go into this chaos, LFO, you'll want to smooth that somehow. Remembering we can do things to the CVs, like run them into a slew limiter or a filter to smooth them. Filters are, even though they're an audio rate thing, you can use them on CVs easily, because they'll just filter out rapid changes, which is what we want. I think I've shown you that before, but just thinking of that, I'm sure I've shown this before, but it's always handy to remind people. Let's just grab that Moog filter, which is obviously more complicated than we need for this, and if we go into settings, we turn on interconnect mode, we disconnect this guy, and we take out select input port. In. We want to go to in. And now we want to go from this one to our pan CV. Now we're running our CV into our normal audio filter and into pan. What this will do is we can choose, we don't need Q or anything complicated there. We can use it to smooth any rapid changes. So it kind of works the same as the slew limiter. Obviously the slew limiter is more versatile, but it does mean you'll get those, you can use the filters for smoothing if you want, because it'll get rid of rapid changes. And if we go to something with lots of rapid changes, and then take our cutoff down, you'll notice, now I've turned the cutoff down and my pans are no longer getting clicky because I've smoothed that CV right down. So those instantaneous changes are getting squished by the filter. And I also just wiggled the thing. So that's just something I wanted to show with pan. Interconnect mode can be handy for doing that kind of stuff. It makes some of the interface a little bit more confusing because you've got more options for everything, but it can be useful. And the rest is phaser, flanger, phaser, pitch cal. We've got lots of things in P, which look kind of fun, but maybe we'll just answer a couple of questions and then knock off. If anybody's got any other questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I think that might be the end of today's stream. I hope everybody's enjoying the regular things. Again, if you've got any questions or anything, and if there's anything you want to see discussed that might require more forward preparation, like a particular patch or something that you want to see, like, hey, how do I do this complicated thingy, or is there a way to get this kind of sound? Any ideas for patches? I'm always happy to draw up a patch for anything you need. So unless there's anything happening. Cool. Yeah. All right. Thanks very much for watching those, and I will see you next week for the start. Running through P, and then we don't have that many modules to go. Hopefully, we'll have some other updates coming very soon too. I am still working on those, so I've been busy building units and doing some other stuff, but we are still working on them. With the AMP stuff, if anybody's wondering about that, I've been writing the training and capturing stuff. So that's not going to happen actually on the pedal, the training and capturing, because you need a computer with a beefy GPU and lots of oomph. So we're running something so you can do it online, do it with our you'll just do it online. It'll send it off to a server. It'll send the trained models back. That's the thing. We're pretty close to finishing that actually. So it should be up soon. All right. Well, thanks very much for watching, and I shall see you hopefully next week.